What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Today, we've got a Chicago Bulls and Miami Heat game reaction. Two competitive, gritty, tough, defensive teams went to battle today, and it was a very entertaining game to watch. However, the Chicago Bulls walked away with the loss in today's game, and full credit to Miami for a very strong performance that they had. And it's time for the Chicago Bulls to continue to learn from a loss like this. You always want to learn from some of the better teams in the NBA, and Miami are clearly one of those teams, and it's time for the Chicago Bulls to continue to learn from some of the best. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls game today. Who was your player of the game, and what do you expect going forward from this team after versing a really strong Miami Heat team as well? We lost this game 107-104, I believe. It was a close and competitive battle throughout the whole way through. Pretty much the largest lead for both teams, I believe, was around 8 points or something like that. Both teams kept close, both teams stayed connected, and again, it's one of those games where I think it's a very enjoyable watch because you just know the type of teams these two are. You know that they love to battle, you know that the defense is always going to be there, you know that you're going to continue to see hustle, you're going to see fast break opportunities for the Bulls, you're going to see some really good plays from the Miami Heat. It was a great game to watch, and I'm not too upset with a loss like this, but I'm more optimistic that the Bulls can learn from a loss like this because we saw some really strong things the Miami Heat did that I think the Bulls could definitely use as a way to improve their offense as well. We do have a lot to talk about, but starting off with the positive of this game, again, when your team is not performing at its best, again, we saw some performances where Zach LaVine, maybe Nikola Vucevic as well, some of the bench players not really performing at their best. It's important that your defense keeps you in the game. And for the majority, of course, seeing Vincent go off in the fourth quarter, Kyle Lowry and all of that. But for the majority, our defense is what kept us in this game, because looking at the stats for the Bulls today, we probably should not have been in this game for as much as we were. I think Miami definitely had better contributions from their starters and better contribution from their bench overall. But our defense was the strongest point of today's game, and it's definitely something that we should be very proud of. Our defense was the key for the Chicago Bulls. We played some good defense today. We can't deny that, but obviously there is still room to improve. Moving into the negatives for the Chicago Bulls, our turnovers is probably the biggest sign of what went wrong today for the Bulls. We had over 20 turnovers. I think it's the first time this season that we've had that, and that reminds me of last year's Chicago Bulls. We're talking about turnovers all over again, and this is just a one-off game. I'm sure the turnovers won't be a big issue, especially with the way that we play. We're not going to see massive turnovers in the future, but obviously with Miami Heat's strong defense as well, they led us to play in a way where we might not be accustomed to, and it led to turnovers. A lot of the turnovers were some forced turnovers from the Bulls as well, forcing passes that shouldn't have been made, losing the ball, not catching the ball, stuff like that was a big part of it as well. But turnovers led to Miami Heat points, led to easy buckets, and led to their victory as well. And it's time for the Chicago Bulls to learn once again. We saw a lot of backdoor cuts from the Miami Heat. One of the easier plays that they had majority of the game was the backdoor cut, was screening for an off-ball player, getting it into the paint, ends up getting a nice open layup. Something like that, something that easy for the Miami Heat was their go-to for majority of their offense today. Getting backdoor cuts, just even direct cuts into the paint, just allowing for players to spread the ball, to move the ball, and to get easy opportunities to exploit the paint. The paint points for the Miami Heat was much better than the Chicago Bulls. We relied too much on perimeter shooting, while we also let the Miami Heat get into our paint and score some easy points there. So that's what I want to talk about in relation to learning from the Miami Heat. Look how many backdoor cuts they have. Why can't we be a team that has open backdoor cuts? We have the quality of passes in Lonzo Ball, even DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine can make those types of passes, Alex Caruso. We have the quality for players to make those kinds of passes and to run those types of plays, but we do not see it enough for the Chicago Bulls. And I'm going to make that a key specific to my player of the game later on, because I thought one of these players did an exceptional exceptional job at doing so, but we need a lot more off-ball movement than what we see today. We see too many players standing on the perimeter and not enough players trying to force something to happen, trying to cut into the paint, trying to cut to the free throw line. And at the end of the day, we have to see more ball movement. We need to collapse the Miami Heat's defense. When they go to a zone, the Chicago Bulls don't find any sort of way to stop that zone from working, from crumbling their zone. And it's because a lot of players are just stuck on the perimeter ready to shoot out of the zone when we should be trying to make the zone collapse. And I think Stacey King said at the end of the game, we just need to learn how to play out of a zone. That is the next step for the Chicago Bulls, because now every single team is going to put a zone on the Chicago Bulls. It's not just the certain types of teams. It's not just Dallas anymore. It's not just the Warriors anymore. Every single team that we have faced since that Dallas Mavericks game has put us in a zone. It's a copycat league, and we've seen it nearly every single time that the Chicago Bulls struggle with zones, and therefore the teams put us into zones. And it's time for us to keep trying to fight and keep trying to work out how to battle out of a zone. Because the Miami Heat, as soon as they went to the zone, they took the lead. They ended up getting a really nice run going for them, and then we ended up falling away rather late in the game. We stayed connected to them. We have to give us credit for that. But as soon as the zone kicked in, the Chicago Bulls crumbled. We have to learn how to play out of a zone. It's as simple as that. And we're just going to keep on pushing to do it. That's the only thing I can say. I don't have any upset. I'm not sad anyway or something like that. I'm not frustrated. Of course, I know many people will be, because we had the game in our grasp. We had a really good lead going into the fourth quarter, and we lost the lead. But we have to learn from these experiences, and that's my optimistic side coming out of me, because I truly believe we can learn from a team like the Miami Heat. We can learn from how they play offense, because I think their offensive game, considering the players that they have, I don't see all of them as major scorers. They didn't have Tyler Hero today either. They're not major scorers, but they all contribute because of easy backdoor cuts, because they're easy plays, floppy plays, whatever the case may be. They made easy shots for themselves, and not all of them are scorers. When we look at this team, the Chicago Bulls team, we have DeMar DeRozan, prolific scorer. We all know he's a dead-eye player. Zach LaVine, although not a strong game today, we know he can score the ball. Lonzo Ball, the same. Obviously, Alex Caruso off of the bench, Vucevic, Kobe White. We have scorers on the team, but we don't give them easy enough shots for them to get some easy layups, to get some backdoor cuts, just to get some easy points. We make things a little bit too difficult than what they need to be. But nevertheless, this is definitely something I hope the Bulls can improve on for the next time we verse the Miami Heat, which won't be too far away from this game. And let's see if we can bounce back against them. I know the Bulls are a competitive team, and I know they'll keep this game in mind for the next time that we play them. Let's look at the individual performances, ladies and gentlemen. Starting off with DeMar DeRozan. He had 28 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 steal. DeMar DeRozan had 22 points in the second half, so it's clear to see that he was the guy that was going to step up for the team. At the end of the day, a very low-scoring game in the first half, and we needed to see a couple of players step up to the occasion, and DeMar DeRozan was the man today to step up to the occasion. He got some good mid-range plays. He got some good cuts to the basket. He got to the line today, shooting 6 from 7 from the free throw line, 57% from the field. It's not a bad game for DeMar DeRozan, but the one negative that I do have, and it's a slight negative here, he needs to figure out when to pass and when to shoot. And an example is, again, when the zone was being played, or at least in the fourth quarter, they were double teaming the DeMar DeRozan from a screen. Alex Caruso gets into the mid-range area, into the free throw line area. Alex Caruso makes a play. It's a very easy play, and the Miami Heat realized very quickly that wasn't the right defensive strategy to go with to stop DeMar DeRozan. But once the zone came in, I felt like DeMar DeRozan struggled, and I also felt like he wasn't making the correct decisions at times. That's my personal opinion, and I'm sure we'll see better from DeMar DeRozan in the future, but that's one of the only negatives I have, and I think that tells with the 1 assist that he had in today's game. Zach LaVine had 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists with 1 steal. Again, Zach LaVine, a really poor night from the field, only 6 from 16 from the field, 4 from 10 from the three-point line, which isn't too bad whatsoever. I hated his shot selection at times today. Again, there was one where he was literally close to the out-of-bounds line, takes a three-pointer with someone literally right on him. And that's one of those shots that are just frustrating to see from a fan's perspective. I'm sure the fans in the arena felt the same way, but nevertheless, it's a bad night from Zach LaVine. This is a night you don't normally see from Zach LaVine. You usually see him bounce back to 20 points. You usually see the efficiency numbers increase. The Miami Heat did a fantastic job in limiting Zach LaVine, and Zach LaVine had to find other ways to get involved, and unfortunately today, he did not do that. Lonzo Ball had 11 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. Once again, the same issues for Lonzo Ball continues to rise. He is not involved in the second half. This has to be something that the Bulls management team, coaching staff needs to keep pushing Lonzo Ball to be more involved, and we have to find plays to get Lonzo Ball involved. Whether he's the one creating the play or if the play's made for him, Lonzo Ball has to be more involved in the second halves. I think he had 10 points or something like that. He had a lot more points in the first half than the second, let's just say. He had close to a triple-double in the first half. And yeah, I think the only stats that I remember from Lonzo Ball in the second half is 2 assists. So it's not good enough for Lonzo Ball, and it's not all his fault. It's the coaching staff as well. We have to find ways to get Lonzo more involved. It's getting ridiculous now looking at every single game and seeing Lonzo Ball having a lackluster second half. I think he needs to try and demand the ball a little bit more, and I also think the coaching staff needs to try and get the ball in his hands from the very beginning. And we have to keep him involved in all 4 quarters. There's no point having Lonzo Ball on the court just for his defense when we know he's a capable offensive player, yet we don't see it enough. Simple as that. I think he had an okay game. He had a really strong rebounding game, phenomenal rebounding game, a really strong defensive game. Shooting-wise, he wasn't there today, but he's just not involved. He's not involved in those second halves of games, and it's very, very frustrating, and it's another game that we've seen it. Nikola Vucevic had 7 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. I don't have an issue whatsoever with Nikola Vucevic's defense today. What I have an issue with is very similar to the Lonzo Ball situation. He was not prevalent in the second half whatsoever. He got a lot of good shots in the first half of the game, and yes, he did miss a lot of them, but he looked to pass first as soon as he got the ball in the second half. And at the end of the day, with the mismatches that you do make around the team, Nikola Vucevic has to be the guy to try and get some easy points in the paint. He is the tallest player by far on that team, and he had the size advantage on pretty much everybody except for Dedmon in terms of the Miami Heat team. So he has to take advantage of his size, and he did not do it enough. He did a good job defensively, 2 steals, 2 blocks, can't argue with that. Decent rim protection, 13 rebounds. Pretty much defensively, I thought he was fine. Offensively, first half, I thought he did okay. I thought he did great. And the second half, I don't remember him doing anything of note. And that's something that needs to change as well. Players have to get involved in all 4 quarters. It can't be reliant on just DeMar DeRozan or just Zach LaVine or just Alex Caruso. Other players have to get involved in the game, and I don't think Vucevic did a good job in getting involved in the game in the second half. Javonte Green had 7 points, 1 rebound, and 1 assist. Again, he's another player that was trying his hardest to try and find open spaces within the team to get some good opportunities. He got some really good cuts to the paint. He made a corner 3 today. In my opinion, Javonte Green is one of the best corner shooters on this team. I don't see him miss a lot from that corner shot. So I think we need to try and find him a little bit more in the open corners, because he seems to be the go-to guy when it comes to that spot, and we need to keep finding him there. But other than that, I don't really have too much to say on Javonte Green. I thought he wasn't the right fit in terms of this game specifically. I thought we tried him at small ball center, didn't necessarily work. I thought we needed a little bit more athleticism, which is why we went more with Derrick Jones Jr. than Javonte Green. And it just wasn't the right game for him, and we will move on. And we're going to have to see if he plays more in the next game against the Miami Heat, or whether it's going to be just a certain situation where maybe the right game is just not against the Miami Heat. We'll wait and see in the next one against them. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's a great night from Javonte Green, but it's definitely far from his worst as well. Moving into the bench, we do have a lot to talk about in relation to this bench, starting off with Alex Caruso that had 22 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists with 1 steal. I thought Alex Caruso was amazing today. Defensively, absolutely amazing. Offensively, by far one of his best games of the season. Playmaking-wise was solid. very, very key to how good we were today. He had a really strong fourth quarter as well. Again, making things happen, and he's one of the contention for the player of the games, and I'll tell you why later on during that stretch. But it was a phenomenal game from Alex Caruso, definitely one of his best. And again, if he could keep up that level of performance, I'm not saying scoring 22 every night, but especially when it comes to the efficiency side of things, he shot 75% from the field today. If he could keep up efficiency like that, I think we're going to have a really strong bench in the future. But our bench definitely let us down outside of Alex Caruso today. And this is one I'm going to be talking about more specifically. Coby White had 4 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 block. 2 from 8 from the field, 25% overall, 0 from 5 from the three-point line. And this is the worrying sign for Coby White. He's still going to have to get his rhythm going again. I believe this is his 8th game of the Chicago Bulls season. So we are getting to the point now where Coby White should be as close to ready as you can get. There's still going to be a little bit more time to try and adjust to the team. Of course there will be, but Coby White needs to do better in terms of consistency. He had 20 points last night against the Orlando Magic, and then he drops 4 points tonight with some really poor shot selection as well. Probably the worst shot selection on the team came from Coby White today. That's the balancing right for Coby White. We have to find that balance of consistency with him. He's a young player, but he has to find consistency. If he continues to have 20-point nights on some nights, then 4 points on some other nights, he becomes inconsistent. It's almost like a Larry Markkinen type of issue when we have with Coby White, where we must continue to see consistency. And if we do not find consistency with Coby White, then there's going to be some nights where we struggle. We need bench scoring. Alex Caruso was amazing in terms of bench scoring today, but outside of him, not much in terms of bench scoring or really bench production whatsoever. But moving into another player, Derrick Jones Jr., who played 16 minutes today, had 7 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist with 1 block. Athleticism was big for Derrick Jones Jr. I thought he had a really strong fourth quarter. He did get a lot of good shots in there. Got an and one in the fourth quarter as well, I believe, or the third quarter. I can't remember which quarter it was. But nevertheless, it was a good game from Derrick Jones Jr. considering what he was doing in the last game. He got fouled out really quickly, only played 10 minutes. It was a decent comeback game from Derrick Jones Jr. today. And Ayo had 2 points and 1 rebound. I don't really have too much to say about Ayo. I thought at the end of the day, he definitely could have got a little bit more minutes over Coby White, considering he did only have 9 minutes today. I don't think Coby White was the right answer, and I thought by the middle of the third quarter, we probably should have made that change, but we stuck with Coby White, and it didn't work out for the Chicago Bulls. I thought the shot selection wasn't great, and I thought defensively he was fine, to be honest. I didn't have a problem with him defensively. He got a nice block over Jimmy Butler. But I definitely think Ayo could have been a player we could have used for a little bit more spark, a little bit more energy, and we know that's exactly what he brings. Moving into the must improve, I think you can already tell who I'm going to give it to. I don't think this is the time right now where I could say Coby White hasn't earned criticism. I am going to give it to Coby White today. This game specifically, I think he was the clear one where the shot selection was poor, the shots were not falling in, and he was fine defensively, but we have to make Coby White a scorer, and I don't think Coby White was doing great from the scoring, and it's as simple as that. That's his role, that's his job, and he didn't do a great job at it today. And it's just trying to find consistency with Coby White. This is not me saying that I think he should get traded. This is not me saying that I think he should be a starter or anything. It's not one side or the other for me. I'm dead set in the middle when it comes to Coby White, and I know his weaknesses and I know his strengths, and it's just about finding that consistency and putting those strengths in terms of scoring to good use. And today just was not the game for him. And my player of the game is going to be Alex Caruso. Now, I talked a lot about off-ball movement today. I talked a lot about backdoor cuts. I talked a lot about cutting into the lane, going into the free throw line, making a play from there. And we need to learn a lot, not only from the Miami Heat, but this Bulls team has to learn from Alex Caruso's player movement off the ball. Because in my opinion, he was the clear standout when it comes to getting the ball in a situation where he's worked so hard to put in a certain position. If it's at the free throw line, then that's where he works so hard for off-ball movement. To get to the paint off of a potential 3 from Vucevic in the last game against the Magic as well, really, really strong. We need more backdoor cuts. We need more players moving off the ball to try and put themselves in a position where they can either make a play or get an open shot for themselves. We see too many players standing on the perimeter and not enough players cutting to the basket. Not one person, in my opinion, outside of Alex Caruso did a strong job with off the ball movement. And that's something that we continue to work on. We have to keep working on it. We have to keep improving it. We have to keep finding ways to keep the defense guessing. If they're going to play a zone, we have to keep them guessing if we're going to shoot the three, to shoot them out of the zone, or try and break the zone down. We let the Miami Heat play in that zone defense, and we let them decipher what shot we take. We need to be the ones that decipher whether we break that zone by shooting a three, or we find the off-ball mover, we find players cutting to the basket, we collapse their zone, and we end up doing a strong job in that area. We need to find the balance, and this is the best game, in my opinion, to learn from when it comes to trying to fight out of a zone and trying to find more off-ball movement. Stacey King said it. I think many of you guys will say it. The zone is what hurt us the most today, and it's something that we need to continue to work on. And I thought Alex Caruso was amazing trying to break that zone. He was my player of the game before the three-pointer at the end of the game, or after, whatever the case may be. He was the best player to do it, and that's my message for the Chicago Bulls, and that's why he's my player of the game. The Bulls' record is 13-8, and it's fine margins right now in the Eastern Conference. So right now, we will be continuing to battle for top spot. The game against Miami, yes, it's a loss, but it's not a loss that's going to take us out of contention for one of the top teams in the East. We have a couple of games where the Chicago Bulls have opportunities to win going forward, but right now we are in a very difficult stretch of games, as we were through all of November. All of November is an extremely tough month for the Chicago Bulls, with our next game coming against the Charlotte Hornets, another team that's having a really strong season in terms of their NBA campaign. They're having a really strong season so far. Of course, it's going to be Alonzo versus LaMelo. The Ball brothers are going to be competing tonight, not tonight, in a few days' time, which is going to be very interesting to see as well. And let's see how they go. Let's see how the Bulls go. Let's see if they can battle the Hornets, and let's see what the Chicago Bulls can do. We have a couple of days until that game arises, but that's a big game for the Bulls as well, to continue to battle for the top Eastern Conference spot. It's going to be interesting. It's not going to be an easy ride. But again, a lot of these players, a lot of these teams have very similar records. We have to keep in the pack. We can't lose easy opportunities now. We're just going to keep fighting and see where we go from there. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Have a wonderful and safe day, Bulls Nation. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care and peace.